All right, we have some very good news for our friends in Macomb County, and for those of you who make Macomb your home. And the Macomb County Executive, Mark Hackel, is here to proudly talk about kind of the big money you're getting from the latest state $82 billion budget. And I don't. If I know you, you're not here to defend that you did well. You're here to be very happy about that you did well, right?
Yeah, exactly, Paul. Thanks for having us and giving us the time to talk a little bit more about that in depth. And you're right. I mean, it is something that's important to us, and our legislators here in Macomb were very much adamant about trying to be a little bit forceful and making sure some of that money came back to Macomb County for specific projects. So you're right. We're here to talk about specifically those projects and how it's going to advance things here in Macomb County.
Well, talk about them. Talk about the specific projects, why they're needed, and how happy you are to be, I guess, $40 million to support a new central jail intake. But you tell us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that first, because that was the highlight. That's the number one issue we've been pushing forward, because, the hardest thing to let people know or explain to them is, how well we're doing financially as a county. And as a county government, people are always wondering what your government's doing. And you look at the national level and, they're continuing to print money and, raise the national debt. We're not allowed to do that at the local level, state level, or even at the county level. So with that being said, our finances are in great shape, AA plus bond rating. We've got our pension system is overfunded. And when we talk about our retiree health care, it's fully funded, and we're paying cash for things. Our Marine Division out on Lake St. Clair, working with our Board of Commissioners, paid cash, $10 million. Our parking structure, we paid cash for that. So when we're looking at trying to figure out what do we do with the most significant issue that faces the county, that's our county jail, and we've been dealing with this for the past 25 years with studies, the question becomes, how do we pay for this? It's not that we don't need it. We had to take offline certain sections of the facility that were built in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, reducing capacity. So the question has always become not whether there's a need, but how do we pay for it? And unfortunately, the answer always came, do we go to the voters for a millage? Do we bond it? And the bonding capacity is a challenge, and we know voters aren't very much receptive to saying, yeah, let's go ahead and put a millage together to pay for a new jail. So what happened? Well, obviously the American Rescue Plan, our money came our way. And we said, well, rather than just seeing that money go to waste, why do we focus on things that are important, that are intentional? Everybody's getting their own funding at a local level, state level. But here in Macomb County, working with our board, and I think Don Brown and Harold Hall, who are leading it on behalf of the County Board of Commissioners, that said, you know what, let's look at this and figure out how do we start fixing a problem. But as we do that, as we start to take offline areas that no longer are functional, we build a facility that has been needed for the past 25 years. Let's do it with a mind towards making sure we're right-sizing the facility to deal with mental health and substance abuse. So this facility, we have a study that's been done, and working with Sheriff Wickersham, costs about $230 million. And so we realized if we put some of that ARP money toward it, about $130 million, look to the state, because there is a portion of this that's going to be a benefit to the state, and see if we can't get about $50 million from them, which they came through with $40 million, and we're elated with that. And I think, Kevin Hertel and Curtis Hertel, and the governor's going to be signing off on that shortly here, as well as all of our representatives. They said, you know what, this is important. This is important not just in Macomb County because of dealing with their problem with their infrastructure, but we recognize they're going to lead when it comes to dealing with this issue of mental health and trying to assess and address that issue with a facility that they're trying to create. So in totality, we have the money now that we're going to be able to go ahead and put towards this particular facility that is going to be, once again, paid for in cash. So we're so fortunate to have been able to get that funding from the state, recognizing the importance of dealing with mental health as part of the mindset when you're dealing with institutionalizing people, especially since they closed institutions around the entire state back in the 1980s, good, bad, or indifferent. We need to address this, and we're going to be doing that here in Macomb County.
Well, and you have set a reputation, Mark Hackel, of dealing with money responsibly. So I'm happy that they're giving you this money to do these things. Let's face it, Selfridge Air National Guard Base is not just a jewel for Macomb County. It's for all of us in Michigan and in the United States. The money you're getting for water infrastructure, making Candace Miller happy, it's something she's been working on virtually all of her life. And the investments into state parks and local recreation projects. All of this is good stuff as far as I can see.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought in Selfridge, because that's the other. I'm just going to say it's number 2 on my list. This jail project is a county responsibility, but you're right. Selfridge isn't just a Macomb County asset; it is our hometown air base. But the reality is, if it goes by the wayside, so does Grayling, so does Alpena, so do questions about our defense industry here. And so, fortunately, bringing in the past Governor Snyder and obviously the current governor, Governor Whitmer, they realize the importance of it as they've been talking to the folks out at Selfridge, the folks within the defense industry. And so the governor putting money towards, investments of facilities at Selfridge is going to solidify its existence, but also trying to look at how do we fix that runway so that we don't become number 2 again when it comes to looking at a fighter mission at Selfridge. If we fix that runway as a state, it is going to guarantee that we're going to get a fighter mission, because I know our representatives out in D.C. right now, in particular, Stabenow and Peters, they have been really fighting hard, but the challenge they've been having is what's called this clear zone. And that clear zone happens to be in an area where there's homes. And we're going to now remove that clear zone, move it north by running the runway north. And now there is no question. So the Air Force at the national level is going to have a hard time saying Selfridge isn't competitive because of that particular box they don't check. And we got a problem with that particular area. We know we are going to be the most competitive airfield in the entire country once we fix that problem, and we're going to be doing that as a state because of the leadership on behalf of the governor as well as our legislators here in Macomb County.
And we're hearing from the leader of Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel. More to talk about as we continue on WJR. As we continue in focus, Macomb County came out a winner in Michigan's record $82 billion budget that was approved by the legislature, snaring millions of dollars for the county jail, Selfridge Air National Guard Base, key infrastructure improvements. We're continuing our conversation with Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel with more good news with last week's announcement about the U.S. Army announcing the awarding of 2 firm fixed-price contracts. Can you tell us about that latest good news for Macomb County, Mark?
Yeah, I think Andy tweeted it out, so we were excited because this definitely is getting the attention. Everybody's starting to recognize the importance of the defense industry. The epicenter is here in Macomb County, but obviously the growth of that has expanded into Wayne, Oakland, and beyond. So it's now a statewide asset, and we're getting a lot of support on behalf of the state legislature saying, hey, we need to continue to make sure we protect and grow this asset, and we have been. So we're not doing so much more as protecting as we are seeing it continue to grow, as was just mentioned with this announcement you're talking about. $1.6 billion grant contract, I should say, was awarded. And the 4 companies that were actually competing for this were all in Macomb County. So it's almost like we were going to win no matter what, But, one of the ones that didn't was BAE. We're kind of surprised by that. But with that being said, they all tend to work together, and I think it's because of the workforce that we have in this area. But General Dynamics Land System out of Sterling Heights, as well as American Rheinmetall, they were the winners, and both are in Sterling Heights. They're using now, they're going to get $1.6 billion in this contract to start really advancing the Bradley fighter tanker to try to come up with a unique next-generation fighter and something completely out of the box. They're really going after this. But I tell you, the most important part about it is whoever ends up winning is going to come up with a production deal with the U.S. Army at $45 billion. So one of these 2 is going to end up with a $45 billion award to actually do the production of these new Bradley fighters. It's amazing. So, again, growth to the defense industry here in Macomb County and obviously the state of Michigan.
I mean, this is big. This is really big. You're talking about billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that just wouldn't be coming our way without the work you've been doing there in Macomb County.
Yeah, and I credit our planning department. I tell you, Vicki Rowinski, her team, John Paul Ray, they understood this. They saw it early on. They knew the importance of the defense industry. We went at the time, as I became new county executive first ever. I didn't know as much about it, but I really started to learn more, the history that we have here of making things that protect those who protect us. And so we went to Lansing, talked to Governor Snyder, and said, hey, can we move the Michigan Defense Center out of the MEDC and put it right there in the area where all of this work is being done, because we're seeing Huntsville, Alabama trying to replicate what we're doing here in Macomb County because we're not talking loud and proud enough. We're not highlighting this asset. So they did with that focus of protect and grow. And now this Governor Whitmer, has joined in on that, without skipping a beat and doing the same thing to figure out how do we continue to make sure that this asset and this obviously this economic opportunity for us continues to grow. But what a sense of pride, for decades, we've been making things that protect those who protect us right here in Macomb County. We're the defense capital of the Midwest. And I dare say we continue to do what we're doing. We're going to be the defense capital of the United States. And, boy, this is kind of one of those awards that could show that that is possible.
Mark Hackel, Macomb County executive, with us, and it just reiterates a term you don't hear as much as we used to, but it historically is correct. We are really proving time and time again that we are the arsenal of democracy, as we have been for generations. It continues to be the case, but we cannot take anything like this for granted, and you aren't.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is we're starting to see, obviously, the country, over the years, to start to sense, the sense of pride they have with the military. Those of us that have, retired from law enforcement and firefighting service and EMS, the people are, they tend to recognize, the service put in. But when it comes to our military, boy, there's a incredible sense of, importance that they play, for people in our country, and that the connection we have with them. And so with that, we even have the millage here in Macomb County. That is probably the millage that passed with the most resounding support on behalf of the public this last time around was this one for our actual military veterans here in Macomb County. So the veterans millage passed with over 80% of the support on behalf of the public here in Macomb County. And that is, again, serving those who have served us, and we make sure we take care of the 45,000 veterans that make Macomb their home. But that, to me, is a testament that people do care about, the defense of our country, our nation. There is still that sense of pride with the American flag and, making sure that, nobody's taking advantage of us. So I still see it there, even though the rhetoric we hear about in the media at the national level, keeps kind of trying to divide us. I still think we are united as a country. And fortunately, I can say that, the day after we just got through celebrating, our independence here on 4th of July.
Well, good for you. Good timing on that. And you're absolutely right, and you're just the right guy to tell us. So thank you for that, Mark. Anything else we need to know? Any other good news you'd like to share there in Macomb County?
Yeah, just good things are happening. We're very fortunate. I'm grateful. Most of the stuff that happens with our board of commissioners and our legislators, they're coming together. Nobody's talking about partisan issues here in Macomb County. We try to set that aside and try to figure out what do the people want, what do they need, how do we fix the issues here, as opposed to try to start highlighting issues that divide us. Let's continue to stay united. So I appreciate you helping us get this word out in a longer format. I'm so grateful that you're into this new format and giving me the time on behalf of the Macomb County residents to do just that, by the way. I appreciate
I'm glad
that.
For a lot of reasons, and one of them is for one of them is for what you've just said. We have more time to talk. We're not rushed.
I love it.
We don't have to go running off. And I can ask you questions, too, that aren't even scheduled, like this one, for example. What was your initial reaction when you heard they found cocaine at the White House?
Sadly, my reaction was, not surprised. Can I say that? I just did. So,
yes, you can say it. I said
nothing
this.
Surprises me anymore. It's like, what is going on with this country? It's like, come on, this is it's nuts. Yeah, I mean, that's a sad testament. To say, come on, we got to start straightening out. Who's in these offices, making sure that they're responsive to the public, and let's just be a little bit more honest and open about the problems or challenges we're facing, or some of the challenges we have with our own selves. Not happening enough. So.
Well, Mark, as one of the biggest Democrats in the great state of Michigan, what's your feeling on President Biden? Do we thank him for his first term and say that's enough, or do you support him to run for re-election?
As I said, I think we need new candidates on all sides, all fronts. I mean, it's time for the people to look deep, and it's unfortunate the parties are trying to control those that we're electing into office, and we need to get rid of that. It needs to be people that are put forth that I think people have the opportunity to decide who they want. So I would rather they both say, hey, thanks for the time that you both served. Let's get some new candidates in here that people can really, identify with, that are ready to solve problems, as opposed to continue this banter about, us versus them, and they're the problem. We got all the answers and solutions, when yet, neither side has. So it's time for new candidates.
Well put, Mark. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon, all right?
You got it. Thanks again.
Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel has never not spoken his truth or been afraid to hold back. He tells it like he sees it. You can agree with him or you can disagree with him. but I love the fact that he is straightforward and honest, and he's doing a great job in Macomb County.